Shocking scenes occurred today as the Hasbro factory burns to the ground. Report fire officials fear that the man seen breaking into the premises may have been consumed in the flames.
Hello there, Marvel Legends. Did you miss me? It's your old pal, the Marvel Zombie, and I have been wanting to come back to you for a long time now because I just read a delightful little tale starring my grey-skinned friend over here. I do rather enjoy the tales of the Hulk. Sometimes he's incredible, other times he's totally awesome, and even in some delightful cases he's quite immortal. We'll get back to that one later. However, I want to take you on a strange journey, if I may. An encounter between the Grey Hulk here and somebody else who is not always what he seems. This is a fun little tale called Natural Selection. Our story opens with the military and Doc Samson, who have tracked down the home that Bruce Banner has been renting in Las Vegas for a while. And we all know that in Las Vegas, you're not there for a long time, you're there for a good time. When they hear someone at the door, the soldiers come out with guns drawn, frightening a poor newspaper boy half to death. Samson, with the cooler head, reminds the men that it is daytime and that their target will be in his human form and not such a threat. Similar to the Grey Hulk, I'm only barely human in the daytime. As the men regroup, they are unaware that Banner is watching them under the cover of the bushes. Bruce, for a moment, considers surrendering himself to them, when all of a sudden one of the more trigger-happy soldiers hears something in the bushes and opens fire on it, only to reveal it's a squirrel. This convinces Banner that surrendering himself might not be such a prudent idea. Meanwhile, we see a train rumbling east, carrying with it a sinister figure. Back in the Yukar Flats, Banner is going through a clothing bin when he is caught by a soldier. Coincidentally, the soldier is also looking for unbelievably stretchy purple pants. Banner manages to get the drop on him and knocks the soldier out. He then takes his uniform and his gun and blends in with the other soldiers. The squad soon go to a nearby train yard to look for Banner, unaware that he is a lot closer than they would ever realize. As they drive, Banner thinks how good it felt knocking out the soldier, finally pushing back against someone who has been pursuing him. When the soldiers search a passing train, Bruce uses this opportunity to sneak into one of the cars and manages to slip away. However, he is not alone in the car. Someone calls out to him from the darkness. Bruce trains his gun in the direction of the voice and asks who this person is. The man introduces himself as Edward. Edward? Norton? Is this a Hulk multiverse? A Hulkiverse, if you will? No, that sounds stupid. When Bruce gives his name, the man instantly recognizes him as Bruce Banner, even in the darkness. Edward talks about how he has followed Banner's career, and is fascinated by the idea that he is an atomic version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Banner starts to question whether or not this entire scenario is simply an example of his mind becoming further unhinged. He wonders whether this man, who so idolizes his alter ego, must be the Hulk himself. Without hesitation, the man in the car grabs Bruce's rifle and snaps it in half. The stranger then begins talking about the nuances of the novel Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, about his envy of the Mr. Hyde character. When Bruce tries to make a break for it, the man in the shadows throws a knife at him, impaling it into his calf and sending the troubled scientist sprawling on the floor. Who throws a knife? I mean, really? The stranger talks about the thrill of savage man and survival of the fittest. He concludes his speech as he throws Banner against the wall, likening Bruce as Dr. Jekyll, who killed his alter ego, much like he has tried to do with the Hulk. The stranger then decides to kill Banner, but Bruce is not defenseless. He pulls a gun stashed in his boot and tries to shoot his opponent. But this man is far too fast. He smashes the gun and Bruce's hand, and then finally reveals himself. The terrifying criminal known as Mr. Hyde. Ugh, this whole time my money was on Stiltman. However, by this point, the sun has begun to set, and Bruce transforms into the Hulk once again. He fights back against Mr. Hyde. However, at this time he is somewhat outmatched, due to the sun having not fully set, therefore the Grey Hulk not being nearly his full power. When Mr. Hyde smashes open the top of the rail car, the remaining sunlight burns the Hulk's skin. In order to avoid his foe, the Hulk smashes through the floor and latches onto the bottom of the rail car. Unwilling to cower for long, the Hulk smashes up through the cars and the two begin fighting it out. As the sun is still setting, Mr. Hyde is able to hold his own against the Hulk. However, when it appears that the battle is an even tie, the villain tries to derail some of the end cars while they are passing over a train bridge. Thankfully, this fails as the sun finally goes down, providing the Hulk his full strength. The gamma-spawned man-monster tosses Mr. Hyde from the train, and then uses all his strength to pull the derailed cars back from the edge of the bridge. But the bridge collapses, sending the Hulk and Hyde crashing into the waters below. The Hulk survives, and when he recovers from the fall, he spots Mr. Hyde's cape hanging from a tree branch. Finding the cape nice, the Hulk plucks it from the branch and drapes it over his shoulder as he walks away. And that was Natural Selection, a fun little tale featuring our grey-skinned friend over here, one that works well to build up some tension and suspense. The only problem with being incredibly strong and powerful is when you're not. And that's something that Bruce Banner has often had to contend with. He's the strongest one there is, but only when that is the case. Otherwise, he's frail, fragile, vulnerable. And in that moment, on the train car with Mr. Hyde, there was a wonderful sense of genuine fear and dread as to who this person might be and what their intentions are. You see, not everyone who you run into is going to be as friendly as me. Until next time, Marvel Legends, keep things horrifying.